right, so I think we're good. Hello, everybody. This is the Solopreneur Specialty System session that we're going to be doing to explore an idea that Maaike Coppens had about such a system existing. What we're going to be doing today is having a few people that have volunteered to participate go through this process in Mural to not only give their perspective on what they think a solopreneur specialty system is, but also to explore the system hypothetically in terms of how it would be introduced, what kind of experience you would have by using it. And then finally, at the end, once all of that's been kind of worked out, uh, we're going to ask everyone to self-assess their work to say, okay, is what I created something that I would invest in myself? Is it something I would just sign up for, or would I just kind of pass it off? We will also be looking at each other's creations in terms of what we think us that kind of specialty system is and what it's defined as. And then we'll save a lot of the dialogue towards the end. As before with previous sessions, we won't be doing any introductions right off the bat because there is probably going to be a lot of back and forth with people going into Mural and coming out. And chances are we tend to spend a lot of time kind of figuring out who each other is in that process. So not to disrespect anybody, it's just in terms of making sure we maximize the time that you've allocated for this. We're going to go through the exercises, and at some point we will pause to kind of get questions and get perspective before we move on. So while I'll be the facilitator for this. You'll probably see me frantically moving my eyeballs everywhere on my screen. It'll be a matter of managing the people that are participating as well as managing folks that are watching. We are live on YouTube, so if you want to check us out there, I'll provide the link for everyone that's on the Zoom call. Or you'll be able to watch this later on, as YouTube tends to record live sessions very conveniently. So for everyone that's on the call right now, if everyone's a panelist, I like to direct your attention to the mural that I'm going to be showing on my screen. Now, if any of you can't see this mural, let me know in the chat, and I will go ahead and give you the link to come up and participate and take a look at it. If you have any issues with the mural in terms of its performance, if it's slow, if it doesn't seem like it's working properly, do feel free to let me know in chat. It's probably the best way to get my attention. Or if you want to come off mic and if you want to come off mute and tell me direct, you could do that as well. Okay. So what we're going to be doing is in Mural, I'll be guiding you step by step through this process. For those of you who are familiar with Mural, you'll be kind of know where to go. But for everyone else that's new to this, I'm going to start off by kind of gathering everybody in one spot. So the way since we have over about 10 to 15 people participating, I've grafted out this first part one, in terms of getting your perspective into groups. So some of these may seem a little uneven. That's because we had some last minute drops. But the way this works is that there's going to be these 5 people up here in group 1 for this part here. They're going to move from left to right. Then there's group 2 down here with Gia, Mehmet, and Alice. That's going to move from left to right as well, and so on. So there's 3 of these blocks that all feature groups of people. Katie, you're down here in like the 3rd one. Now, what you're going to be doing for this first part is in this particular block where your avatar is. The question is what are the features of a solopreneur specialty system? So if you're thinking about a system that would work for you specifically, not necessarily for a public, a particular audience or whatever, if something called a solopreneur specialty system existed, what kind of features would you like to see with it? Now, the way to interact with Mural, if you've never done it before, is you're going to take your mouse, and on any card that you see here, if you click it once, it'll select it. If you double click it, you can actually put something in there. So an example of a feature of a solopreneur specialty system is that it does my taxes for me, is one possibility. Another could be it handles and automates emails. These are just case examples of what this particular system could do. But if your avatar is on the left to a particular area with a bunch of gold block cards, digital cards, go ahead and just double click on any of the cards starting at the upper left and move to the right, and kind of think about what features in the Solopreneur Specialty System would exist that would be appealing to you. And we'll give it about 3 or 4 minutes, but this first part will be kind of getting used to Mural and how it works. And again, there are no right or wrong answers with this. So this is just exploring your particular view on things. So again, while everyone's kind of looking at this or working on it, feel free to ask questions, or you can contact me in chat and I'll try to answer those questions there. Okay? Does anyone, if anyone does have any questions, come off mic, but just go ahead and get started. You can double click on any of the cards in here as long as your avatar is to the left. So if your name is Mehmet, you would just double click on a card over here, or Gia. For Gia, like we had said, you can go ahead and send me your answers and I'll put them in the cards. Katie, if you're down here, then what you'll do is start anywhere in this space and start putting in some ideas around what a solopreneur specialty system would incorporate. Okay.
Anywhere I can put myself in which one would you like me to put mine, Robert?
Let me go ahead and put your avatar somewhere. Do you have a particular group would you like to join?
I don't care either way.
All right. Then I will suggest that you go to the middle one right here. And I'll adjust this so that.
Has there been some logic to the grouping upfront?
Mehmet, no. It was basically the list of people that were participating at the time. So I kind of lumped them by, originally it was groups of 6, and then it came down to groups of 5 towards the end. So no, it wasn't looking at geography or background. It was just basically using the list of people that had participated in Zoom and kind of going from there. Maaike, do you see your avatar now in the second group?
I do. Thank you.
Okay. And it is a lovely avatar, by the way. Let's see. We have about 30 seconds left. Does anyone need more time to think?
I wouldn't mind.
All right, I'll give you 2 more minutes.
Okay, I'm okay. Okay, we have about 10 seconds left. And just in case someone checking, does anyone need more time to finish their thoughts, or are you good to go? I will assume that the silence means you're good to go. Okay, but if you want to keep on kind of finishing up what you're thinking about, for everyone else, you just basically follow the arrows and move to the right. Now, this question is kind of, it may seem obvious when it says, who is the system ideally suited for? But the other thing with this also is that it could be for just solopreneurs, or could it be for other audiences? This is a quick 2-minute one. So if it is just for solopreneurs, you can go ahead and state as such in the gold cards to the right of where you were just working. Or if you think that the system that you just kind of worked out some features could potentially be for other types of audiences, go ahead and put that into the spacing here in the middle. So it could be for like people that you do business with, or it could be someone that's an administrator that that admins your particular business. So go ahead and put in what you think who the system could be suited for. We'll just get 2 minutes for this one. This is just kind of like a quick kind of like thought around, okay, based on the features I just did, who do I think would probably use this? And I noticed that Scott is in, so that's good. Okay. And just so that I don't assume that you needed only a little bit of time, if you do need some extra time to think of an audience, then do let me know. Okay. For those of you that are done, and you can move on. If you're still working on the second part, please do so. Otherwise, this last part here, and for your perspective, is what does a Solopreneur Specialty System get you? So this is going to be what you personally stand to gain if such a system existed. So you've already worked out the features. You've kind of thought of the idea, the audiences it's for. But let's get back to something that concerns you or your particular situation. If a solopreneur specialty system existed, what would you stand to gain? What would be some kind of pain it would kind of alleviate? What would it solve for? What's a particular problem that's causing you great consternation that you think it could solve? Go ahead and put that into those gold squares there. We'll take 5 minutes for this one and kind of do some reflection and where you think this system could basically help you personally. And again, it could be anywhere from like finding clients to solving issues with logistics or even planning. Just kind of put it all out there and see what kind of comes out. And of course, Gia, just send those answers my way and I'll put those in there for you. Oh, I'm sorry. Is everybody done? If everybody's done, then we're good. I'll stop the timer and we don't have to wait another minute and a half for this thing to count down. Okay. So let's take a pause here and just kind of discuss what's been done so far. So Maaike, since this is was your original idea, when you're taking a look at what's been done in your particular your particular path, how do you think things are coming out in terms of like what the Solopreneur Specialty System is? Do you think that what's documented here is close to the original idea you had, or what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, if I look at my cards, it's quite close to what the original idea is. What I really like is there's also things in there. If I look at my row particularly, that's a lot around community and mentorship, which is not really what I thought about at first, but I still find very interesting. My original thoughts around this was all about automation and tools, and I find it really interesting that there's some of that in there, but there's also a few things about experts and people, which is really nice. So in an ideal world, we would come up with something that has both, and the tools and the people.
Okay. Great. Alex, you were working on your own up there with a larger group of ghosts. So you put a lot of thoughts into this so far. What's your impression of the Solopreneur Specialty System so far? Are you on mute? Or can you talk? Hang on. Okay. Oops.
Now I'm.
Go for it.
Can you hear me? So I like to have such a system. I think one major thing I'm struggling with is acquiring clients, getting clients, and if that system could help me with that as well. I imagine it to be like an ecosystem, yeah, and that of different tools, like don't have to take care of the invoicing part and other business administration at the same time, helps me acquiring client. Then I could really focus on what I can do best.
Okay, sounds good. How about you, Katie? What have been your thoughts so far?
Yeah, I think I would I would imagine that the perspective each of us is bringing to this is where we are at this point in time. And, for me, it's very specifically about tools for like goal setting and tasks. But in reading some of the other squares, it's also about kind of, I actually hesitated to write in emotional support because, but yeah, just how multifaceted this process really is, and how the community, it's a very, solo, it's very lonely in many ways, and so I think that idea of the community aspect of it has really, really come through for me, even though that wasn't anything that I had in my tiles or reflected in my tiles.
Okay. If you want to cheat, you can basically put emotional support in there if it's one thing that you think should be considered as part of the entire set. But if you don't want to, that's totally fine. But it could be a viable thing that you could consider.
Yeah, I'll put that in there.
What about you, Haron? What are your thoughts on this?
Who? I was looking at from how can it make my life easier as an entrepreneur. So I think I spent 50% of my time on chasing clients, on doing administration, seeking legal support on little things and things like that. And that takes a lot of time, and it all needs to be earned back with client work or other ways of earning money in the core. So if I could spend half of that time on other things, it would help me. So it was more about administrative support, knowledge that I can gain from others, systems that help me out to book my travel and things like that. So it's about gaining time, more quality time, more consultancy time for the real things that deliver value to clients or even my family.
Got it. Okay. How about you, Mehmet? What are your thoughts?
There we go. Right. So I think it's, everyone has his own challenges regarding the solopreneur, being a solopreneur. And for me, it was rather, of course, at the beginner stage of an entrepreneur to really, of course, finding clients is maybe not only the starting point or problem of a beginner solopreneur, but it is especially at the beginning quite important to understand how sales especially works and how you can gather sales. That's one part. But on the same side, would be of course great to learn from people that already have been there. How have they been there, and also, for example, on different stages, how did they experience it and went through those stages. Also, for example, mastermind groups, for example, for people. I mean, even though many people are solopreneurs, many people I've experienced that are solopreneurs, they like to solve challenges in groups, including myself. So when you have a similar or exactly the same challenge, of course, it would be great to have to find exactly those people in order to solve that problem together. And of course, in all, what would be interesting, especially from a starting solopreneur point of view, is that you have your own. For example, if you were very focused on delivery beforehand inside the company or a consultancy like myself, and then you get out into the normal solopreneur life, then the question is, you are able you are capable of doing a couple of things, but then you need to learn the other parts. But learning them and then doing them in an efficient way, so that are not time consuming, that's another part. Interesting would be some kind of modular system of being a solopreneur, and wherever you have some kind of gaps, that this is being buffered by the system, so that you do not lose time at it until you gain expertise on it.
Got it.
If that is somehow understandable.
Yep, I did. I think I covered everybody. Gia dropped off because she's in transit, but I think I've gotten everyone's perspective correct. It's Alex, Katie, Jeroen, Mehmet, and Maaike. I think I've touched upon everyone's thoughts. So let's move on to the part 2. Now, what I've done is condensed everyone in one space. Now, I'll guide everyone over to where I'm looking at so I can kind of explain what this next part is. Where? Okay. So based on what you've done in the panels up above, we're going to be creating an introduction to this hypothetical solopreneur specialty system. So we didn't vote on any cards yet because I wanted this to be more of a perspective play. But what I've done here is constructed kind of a sentence from left to right on what this solopreneur specialty system does for what audience and to achieve something with particular features. Now, this is meant to kind of hone in on particular things that you've seen, that you've written in up above, as well as what other people have put in on what could make the solopreneur specialty system interesting. So in your particular path that you have with your avatars to the left, what I'd like you to do is just start out with the sentence of the solopreneur specialty system. What does it do at its core? Like, what's the main thing you think it should do well out of everything you've seen? Which audience do you think it should be for? And what does it achieve for that audience with the features that you had seen up above? So this is going to narrow it down a bit rather than kind of being all over the place with certain features. What are the main ones that you think would benefit the audience that you had intended when you were doing the process? So this should take just a couple of minutes. If you have any questions or need some time, then do let me know. And I'm going to gray out the boxes for those that have told me that they're either not here or they're predisposed at the moment. Okay. So now that we've kind of created a statement, what we think the introduction should be, once you're done, move over to the right, and you're going to create an experience path that illustrates that vision you just had. So basically, you're going to have a start and an end point. They can be at any juncture. And again, this is just hypothetical, but this is kind of illustrating the vision based on what you just put in for on the left. So in Alex's case, he says the Solopreneur Specialty System automates for freelancers key business functions and administration through artificial intelligence. So if that's the case, and someone wanted to experience what Alex had just stated, what would that experience be like? Where would they start and where would they end? So this is going to take a little bit of time because it isn't as intuitive. Some people would probably want to start at the end and work your way backwards if it's easier than starting at the start. But again, understand that there is no wrong answer with this. So in just hypothetically, let's say in Alex's case, automates for freelancers key business functions and administrated through artificial intelligence, then the goal is basically key functions and administration are automated. Could be like the end state, or a particular business function that he's thinking of could be automated through these AI aspects. And by the way, the gold cards doesn't mean you have to do 8 steps. This is just here for the sake of having space. But if you find that your steps can be done in less time, all you have to do is just select a card in Mural, just basically by clicking on it and hitting your backspace or delete key, and that should get rid of the card in your path. And you can move over the end state at the end.
And we start with the gray card.
Start with a gray card on the left, or
Okay.
if you're somebody that thinks of the end first, you can start at the end and put the end state that you want to achieve, and then work your way backwards, or start at the end and then go back to the start and then go forwards, knowing what you're trying to basically target. Does anyone have any questions with that? Again, I'll give 5 minutes. It's an arbitrary time just to basically make sure it's time boxed, but there's no pressure. We have plenty of time at this point. And I will add about 3 more minutes. Actually, I have 5 minutes. And for reference, after this, we will be making introductions and you'll be kind of introducing your system to everyone else. We have about 2 minutes left. Looks like Alex is set. Mehmet is set as well. Okay, we have 1 minute left. If you're still working on yours, please do so. What I'm going to do is start at the top and have people introduce themselves and what their introduction to their solopreneur system is, and then the experience path that they've detailed out here. So I'll give 30 more seconds. So Alex, you'll be first to come up. And I'll move my screen over to the left so we can start what you originally kind of crafted out with the AI aspect of doing things. And then Michael, you'll be next. Okay. So if you're still working, keep doing so. Alex, let's start with you on your system. So you're at the very top here, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself briefly, who you are, where you're from, what you do, what you're all about, and then get right into what you've been doing so far.
Okay, so my name is Alex. I'm a co-founder. I recently founded my own little startup. I opened up to design thinking and design sprints like 1.5 to 2 years ago. I'm coming out of an e-commerce online marketing background, which online marketing means performance marketing. And I did that for over 20 years for very different companies, small and big ones. And now I have a small startup doing Google Maps marketing, whatever that is. I start in the left with create the introduction system, like at the very left, the Solopreneur Specialty System automates. Right? So for me, the Solopreneur Specialty System automates for freelancer key business function and administration through artificial intelligence. And how would that experience path look like? So entering the system, an avatar would pop up. The freelancer get asked what business he or she is in and in which state he or she already is. The avatar helps integrating existing assets like a bank account or templates that already exist and things like that. And analyzes what is missing and guides the freelancer through creating it through and creates it. The avatar sets then up the ecosystem, including reminders for key information and actions that need to be taken. The system combines all incoming information and reports it to the user, like there's a payment coming in from a client, then you need to pay some taxes and so on. So the system would all do that and report you. And if action is necessary, the avatar guides you as well through it. The system is constantly updated and suggests setting up new functions automatically, like this super cool integration with, I don't know, LinkedIn or something else. And at the end, you talk once a day to the system the way you like it, like through an app, notifications, email, to stay informed and to take the necessary actions.
Okay. So does the system work off of just a mobile phone, or do you envision it happening on multiple devices? What would be ideal?
So I think it would be mobile first, but not mobile only. So it would be best to have your mobile phone with it, because like me as a solopreneur, that's a very important tool. Still, I use my computer and so my laptop and so on. So it would work on multiple devices.
So, and also at the very end, you mentioned you talk once a day to the system. Am I to assume that there's also a voice component to this?
Yes, that I haven't had that in mind, but now you say it, and Mike is next. That's yes, of course. Of course, you're right.
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm apologizing already.
No. It's like the perfect bridge. I don't need to ask you any more inquiry or questions, but does
No,
anyone on the call have any questions for Alex about what he's presented in terms of his solution? And it's okay if you don't, but if you do speak up. No? Okay. Well,
Can I ask for a privilege?
sure.
Can I go next because I have to step out in 3 minutes from now?
Sure. That's fine. Go ahead and start so go ahead and introduce yourself, Jerome, and you're number 4 down here in the row, but go ahead and tell everyone what you're all about, where you're from, and
Okay.
then your vision and your introduction to your system and your vision behind the experience.
Okay, my name is Jeroen Frumeau. I'm from Eindhoven, the Netherlands. And here I act as a solo entrepreneur after having been for 18 years in the corporate design industry specifically. I'm consulting organizations on organizational leadership transformation, specifically in the design and innovation space. I'm a recruiter for design-minded professionals, and the last year becoming so passionate about design sprinting and all the opportunities that remote collaboration provides. I am the co-initiator of the Talent Sprint and the Virtual Design Sprints Europe initiative, together with Mehmet, who's also here in the call. So lots of solo entrepreneurship activities, but pursuing more co-entrepreneurship the last couple of months, which I enjoy a lot. My vision on SSS is start up my office in the morning. SSS is prompting me and shows me possible tasks that the system actually wants to offload me from today. I select a few of the tasks that I desire to be offloaded from and add a few new ones just before lunch. The SSS system is updating me on the tasks that have been performed already or that are in progress. I add a few new questions to the system, to the wizard, that secures me that it will look into it. During the rest of the day, I can fully focus and receive on my work and receive 2 short SSS questions that I answer. I continue my client work feeling very confident. I see the SSS mailbox posting 3 items that I need to approve. Towards the end of my business day, I check in with my SSS assistant and check everything off. And I see an SSS dashboard showcasing all that was offloaded from me today, including an estimated time saved.
So this system sounds a lot like Alex's in the way that it uses AI or it uses machine learning to assist you when you're not there or when you're not paying attention.
Yeah, or even when I'm there, it's observing possible tasks in my mailbox, in my activities that the AI system can take off my plate to do administrative tasks, etc. like that.
So would you configure this system, or would a third party or a business do it?
I think there's a learning process in there. So maybe there's some default settings, but maybe in the first days of your work, you help the system to learn your work patterns and what you find important and less important. Maybe artificial intelligence and machine learning helps to enrich it during the days by asking validating questions. But it becomes more and more an autonomous system that only prompts and not needs to be briefed anymore.
Got it. Does anyone have any questions for Jerome?
Yes, so that system would be then integrated within all your devices. Let's say you type an offer and the system would prompt up and say on whichever device you do that, I can do that. I have learned that now from you.
Yeah, and there could be, for instance, shall I proofread your email to your client? So that something like that, or I see you need to travel to Düsseldorf next week. Shall I look in travel options for you and come back with a scenario? So instead of me having to make all those efforts, the system starts prompting, or maybe proactively do that already in the back of me working on client work, client conversations.
Okay. Thank you for that, Jerome. Who would like to go next? I think Maaike was up after, because now, Jerome, you have to leave.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to do family time now. So
okay. Have a good family time.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you very much for participating,
Bye-bye.
Jerome.
Thank you so much, Jeroen.
Maaike,
Yes.
would you like to go?
Yes, I would. Some great, well, like I'm blown away by the great ideas actually from both Alex and Jeroen's things. So basically, my introduction was that the Solopreneur Specialty System enables creative solopreneurs to focus on their key services through the externalization of the incoming sales process. So I put in externalization rather than automation because I thought, well, this can go either way. It can be an automated thing or it can be a person. So yeah, didn't want to make a choice. So I made it a bit broader. Okay. I cheated a bit. So in an ideal world, in the morning, you would open your app or program or ask it a question. And the system would then inform you that you have a new incoming project. The sales has been done externally, so it just tells you, hey, you have this new project from X client. The system then suggests an optimized schedule within your calendar based on your solopreneur calendar and the client requirements that the system knows about somehow. The user approves, so the solopreneur approves the schedule or makes like small changes if needed. The system then informs the end client of the confirmed schedules and deadlines. The solopreneur updates status on tasks within the system. And then the system looks through the calendar and fills with new projects if there's time available on the solopreneur schedule. And then I thought perhaps this could integrate with a network of solopreneurs. So if the system has new incoming sales and the solopreneur schedule is full, then it could suggest to the end client a like-minded solopreneur that solopreneur would have like vetted beforehand. And then when the project is finished, the system sends invoices and reminders to the end client if they don't pay on time. And in the end, basically the creative has projects coming in continuously and scheduled throughout the year.
So this system just wouldn't be for an individual. You see it also being some sort of system backend where it integrates a lot of other people that are in the same system that could basically be secondary or tertiary choices for clients in terms of creative work. Okay.
Yes, because obviously when like it happens as a solopreneur, when you don't have the time to take on a certain project, what you tell your client is, I'm sorry, like I don't have the time right now. I could do it at that particular point in time. And then they say, no, we need it now. Then you say, okay, well, I can recommend this or this person. Like this is how it happens for me sometimes in the real world. And so then you have to go about like emailing that person saying, hey, I've got this client, blah, blah, blah. I don't have the time. Do you have the time? And then you have to mail back to the client saying, hey, X has time if you want to set up a call. So this entire system would do that for you. The system, like you would set it up in the beginning saying, if I don't have time, this is the person. These are like suggested people, fellow solo entrepreneurs that I trust and their coordinates. And then, yeah.
Okay. How much personalization do you think that the system would need in order to be able to do some of the things you're suggesting here?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I have no idea. The big black hole for me is the sales bit, because obviously if for the system to suggest incoming projects, there either has to be an automated sales process beforehand, which seems quite difficult to make that entirely automated, because at some point you have to talk to the person before they confide a project. Or it is the salesperson, and then this system app or whatever could have like two parts to it. One that is salespeople selling creative projects, and the second one is the creatives having everything automated so that they could do their work well. Anyway.
Got it. Okay. And I may have missed it, but did you introduce who you were at the very beginning?
I did not. Oh my God. I was so like wrapped up in all the creative ideas that I didn't even think about presenting myself. So yeah, I'm Maaike Coppens. I live in the south of France, but I basically travel all over to kind of talk and help clients with voice projects and voice strategy. Well, all about conversations, having conversations, and how to have meaningful conversations with their end clients. I'm also the person behind the Voice X design sprint, and yeah, that's about it. And a solopreneur struggling heavily with all the admin and salesy bits.
Yeah, aren't we all, I guess. Any questions from Maaike on what she's presented?
Maybe a comment to the sales part. This looks for me like this could be, I think union is the wrong word, but like a community that actually of solopreneurs, and they hire sales units that is doing exactly that part for them. Could be an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Maaike. Katie, let's have you go up next. Give everyone an idea of who you are, where you're from, and what your vision was, and your introduction to the Solopreneur Specialty System that you were thinking about.
Yeah, so first of all, this has been very inspiring. So my name is Katie. I am in Boston, in Massachusetts, in the US. And what I'm developing right now is a somatic leadership development method. So one of the things I've noticed, so I have a background, I've built large sales organizations for a number of companies over the last couple of decades. And what I've noticed is you've got people that are actually really either very good in the upper register of inspiration, understanding people, intelligence, that really struggle with actually like bringing things into the world. And then you've got this other side of people who are great at being really grounded, like having a relatively decent amount of emotional intelligence, but are really strong as far as being powerful, and that there's like a cutoff. And so the method I'm developing is about a somatic, body-based practice that combines sort of psychological exploration with that. So the insight I've had with this, and it kind of goes quickly because to what I've suggested, is that it's the difference between technical and business founders, and the needs. Because when I'm listening to the other entrepreneurs, there's, really strong technical bias with like a emphasis on the issues being sales-based. I'm the exact opposite. I've got a ton of demand. I've got, like understanding messaging, getting everything together. But as far as the product side, that's where I'm like, actually like making it happen. Like basically what I'm asking for almost seems like a sort of like a Kanban board sort of thing, And so I think product people would look at what I'm talking about as being like, kind of like, yeah, that's not so difficult. But it's difficult for me. And the people in my world don't have a lot of insight into like how to effectively put this together. Like, because I'm asking for it, I'm asking people who I know have built things and, created the types of things I'm doing, and they're not very helpful. So I guess my thing is it would enable, so to go down to the exercise, it would enable what was it that I had there? You know, I don't know, something. But so start my day with tasks, like clear actions I need to focus on to achieve progress towards a specific time-defined goal. So, I mean, the thing is like, and then in my PS here is the creation of the tasks would include realistic time expectations for what each of them require. And so, you know, review all tasks from previous day and fine tune or complete, open new tasks, and then access to support for blocks like creative, resource, or emotional, and then, you know, completion of the tasks and close out, and, you know, and with a clear start time for the following day, integrated with calendar, you know, so it's blocking out time for me to accomplish what has actually been sort of defined as, you know, in terms of the constraints of time for what I want to get done.
So are these tasks something that are assigned to you, or tasks that you self-defined for yourself to do?
Yeah, so like the process of taking a big project and then breaking it down into little bits so that I can be clear about, first of all, how long it's going to take me to accomplish something.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all for me in this case. And if there were tasks to be assigned to other people, I do think that that's like a future state of this. So yeah, that's it.
Yep. And can you give an example of what kind of projects you're talking about that you would break down into tasks?
Yeah, so one is building the workbook for users of the method. So it's like a practical workbook of writing it and then ultimately like putting it together as far as having it edited and then having it, you know, published and what that process is.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Katie on what she's put here? No? Nothing? Okay. Thank you very much for putting that up there, Katie.
Thanks, Robert.
Mehmet, you are the final one to state what you think your specialty system is.
So, right, Maaike Coppens, I'm based in Düsseldorf, and I was a former consultant for a little bit more than 7 years. I did a lot of project management. I was doing agile operating model design, and I was also a design thinking coach, and then I also learned to facilitate design sprints thanks to the Global Virtual Design Sprint. Plus I was also participating at 2 further ones. So that gave me quite a good opportunity to get a grip and feeling of it. And my previous design thinking coaching was helpful in actually doing that as well. Focus right now is to provide design thinking workshops, plus also in future design sprints, and of course integration into Lean Startup as well as Scrum as further operating models. And then the question, all right, and also I'm co-founder of the Virtual Design Sprints Europe together with Jeroen and Tom, and currently Alex is also helping out a lot there. Thank you very much, Alex, from the side. So let's jump right into the Solopreneur Specialty System. My Solopreneur Specialty System empowers starting solopreneurs to learn to create sales and time themselves with a provision-based system. Yeah.
Okay.
If we go to the right, it's basically it would start that any beginning solopreneur would start with a sales mentor and talk with them about their own field of expertise and agree to an action plan. Of course, the sales mentor would hopefully be someone from that area of expertise. We would be using the shadowing technique, and the sales mentor would perform the sales actions, and either a solopreneur or multiple solopreneurs in a mastermind group would watch that process. They would ask clarifying questions, and then they try it out step by step. In the next sales opportunity, including the opportunity creation, of course, not when the client asks for sales, but to create the situation where, of course, the client would ask for a project. And that would be done performed by the group or by an individual solopreneur. And then after that action, we would gather feedback on the actions by the sales mentor, either in form of a mastermind group or the sales mentor himself. And the payment would be then based on provision per sales to the sales mentor after every time. And then at the beginning, the provision would be, of course, very high because the effort of the sales mentor is quite high, but you would repeat that at the end. If we go to the end point, repeat that at the end from beginning until the solopreneur would be self-sufficient in sales and performed it, let's say 10 times. I don't know how many times you would do in order to be self-sufficient for that. And then also that the provision would decrease in time because the effort of the sales mentor, of course, would decrease in time.
Mehmet, do you see your system as something where it's similar to a Kanban board where you basically take different jobs or different projects or even different tasks and having the system kind of preload those for you if you know that that's where your specialty or your focus is?
If you say this Kanban board is some kind of pipeline where the project lands, then I would say no. Because it's specifically about learning the sales process and performing it yourself instead of being feeded with sales, I would say.
Okay, so in effect, your system teaches the solopreneur the aspects of how to bring in business or to do biz dev in a way that kind of keeps them focused not only on building the business but also doing the work.
Exactly, and it's less of a tool system, but more of a system of people. So people talk to each other, and there's a sales mentor, and there are also other solopreneurs which have the same challenge, which then work together in order to figure it out.
Okay, I'll be right back. There's somebody at the front door, so give me 2 minutes, and if you want, the last part of this is going to be down here. And this is buy or pass. So take a look at it really fast and see if you can make heads or tails of it. And I'll be right back.
Mehmet, just one question. You would not outsource the sale part. You would rather like to learn it and make that a part of your solopreneur skill set.
Yeah, I really like Mehmet's idea as well. But yeah. It's really interesting. What I really like is the fact that it's so it's not like a course on sales. It's more like a taking you by the hand kind of thing process, which I find is always lacking, because a lot of the time, when you want to learn as a solopreneur about sales or about setting up funnels and whatnot, it's about, hey, look at my video course, and it's, yeah, it's not like step by step, and I'll say, okay, let's do this now you need to do this, now you need to do this. It kind of presumes already that you're an entrepreneur and therefore you know how to sell, and this is just a tool, and let me show me your video on how it works. But it doesn't take care of. I think that's also. I found Katie's program, not particularly here on this, but on the leadership thing, very interesting. Is about most of the time when you don't do the sales, it's not because of you haven't looked at the videos about the different techniques. It's about you don't feel confident doing it, and so I find Mehmet's proposal really interesting.
Yeah, or you just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So, and that's where you need the learning and the feedback from the outside to be able to reflect on it and say, okay, well, how can I do it next time? Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. There was I won't get into the details. It was basically a delivery. Okay, so this last part is kind of a fun thing. This is called buy or pass, meaning that you've heard other people's systems, the way they've explained them, and if you've gone through this exercise, you've created your own. What you're going to do with this particular section down here is you're going to consider what other people have said as well as your own. Now, if you would consider putting a down payment on the system if you wanted to build it out, then what you would do, say if it's Maaike's idea that she had just put in there for her system, you basically take her avatar and put it anywhere in one of these blocks like this. Now, if there are more than one person that likes Maaike's idea, then you can basically on your keyboard hit Control D and you get a copy of who she is, or you can hold down the Option key when you're over somebody's avatar and drag it and also create a copy of them as well. So you'll do this for every section, or at least where you think so. So let's say if Maaike's really keen on her particular system, she would go ahead and say, oh yeah, I want to go, I would probably buy it. Or if it was her own system and she's not quite sure about the details, she'd say, well, actually what I do is I would be much more comfortable if I signed up for what I was building out so that I can get updates on it and then figure out at a later time if I was interested. Or if after going through the exercise, she kind of looks at it and goes, you know what, I'm not really interested in it. I gotta have a rethink. It's not really based on what I heard from other people. I'd like to kind of start over. That's essentially what this one is. So this is just kind of a, excuse me, pardon me. I gotta clear my throat.
Thank you for already copying my head several times.
Yeah. No problem. So same with, and so this is going to be two parts. It's going to be your own, and then it's also going to be what you thought of others. So I'm going to lock down this particular part so that we're not dragging the particular.
What if I like all of them?
Then basically you just take everyone's avatar and you put it in the buy section. Because the idea is that you're basically showcasing like the amount of like avatars that are here in terms of like the 4 people that are still on the call. If there happen to be 4 Maaikes, then everyone kind of likes the system enough to basically say I'd put like $20 or $50 or something down there. If it's something where you want to track what somebody else has done, like if there's some good things in there, but you wouldn't necessarily put any payment down on it, then this would be the area that you want to drag somebody's avatar. So that's kind of how to work it. So from your perspective, Maaike, you would have your own as well as one for Alex, one for Katie, one for Heron, and one for Mehmet, and basically put those there. So this is going to be anonymous. We're not going to know who's putting on where. So as long as you just don't duplicate your own vote, you should be okay. But this is a different way of kind of showcasing interest in different things. And if you put things in the no thanks area, that doesn't mean that it's a bad system. It just means that at this point, it's either not for you or there's something about it that just doesn't fit your situation. That's all. So this is like the last kind of little fun thing. If we need more boxes, I'll go ahead and create those. But just go ahead and put the different avatars in the different sections. If you need to make duplicates, just go ahead and use the thing I was thinking about where you, or I was saying where you copy and paste the particular avatar and put those in those sections. And we're almost done. We just have a couple more minutes.
So do I have a column or do I have a row? Something like that? I think I misunderstood. Maybe I misunderstood it.
No, it isn't a particular row. You just basically put an avatar that corresponds to you in the particular section. So for Mehmet, for you, if you're thinking about your own system, you would put your avatar either in the buy, email, or no thanks. If it's somebody else, then you do the exact same thing. You basically put their avatar in the buy, the email, or no thanks. What we're doing is we're just seeing frequency in terms of, you know, where someone is.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Just need to check.
I know it gets confusing after a while because there's so many different images. It's like, where did I put Maaike? Did I put Maaike in the right column? Did I do over here? But
How come there's 5 of me and we're only 4 in the call?
because somebody named Gia put in her vote as well.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason.
That's
why.
magic that's happening.
Yes.
Some artificial intelligence just clones me at random.
Someone could say that's scary.
And it's like Mehmet, like you were saying, I'm just organizing them and clustering them by pictures. So they're kind of in the same space. I think it was a good idea. Okay. So if we look at it, just objectively in terms of where everyone's sitting, it looks like there's a lot of people that are interested in getting updates on the system as it gets built for both Maaike and Alex. Proportionally, same with Alex. Then we have a lot of people that are interested in basically going after Jeroen's, sorry, I can never say his name right. And interestingly enough, there are some people that are like, yeah, I'll definitely go after Katie's, but then there's others that are like, no, it's okay, not necessarily for me. But I find the very interesting that for Maaike's in particular, there's interest in there in terms of like where it's going to be headed. Same with Mehmet's, but not necessarily buying it outright right away. So anybody have any other thoughts as you're looking at these?
So the question I would ask myself is like that seems to be task and project management, or also structuring for Katie, like the one you suggested.
Yes.
Structuring daily tasks, a midterm and long-term approach for creatives. Is that something you think creatives struggle in general?
I actually think that I look at this as being two buyers. One you have, and the pain that you're solving, where on one hand you're solving like business related issues that have to do with sales, marketing, dealing with customers. And then on the other hand, it's just is like your product and the development of the product. And I think that, for me, I'm, the sales side, all of that, that's, very passive for me. And that happens really naturally. But the organization of product, I mean, I think that what I want my need in this process is probably something that's incredibly elementary to a product person or to someone who's a technical person. Because it's like the process that I'm looking for is like about how to like build something versus and I think most people who've built products don't need like specific basic help on that, but that's just my impression.
Yeah, and what we tend to do with like virtual sprints is we tend to build products out. I mean, some of the lightning decision jams that we've done have been explorations with everything from creative leadership to financial planning. I think the last one, we're going to be doing one with the oil and gas industry at the end of the month. Those tend to kind of culminate in ideas that could be products or services. This one was more of if we were scratching our own itch and we wanted to see where it led to in terms of such a system, what would it look like? What I would be curious to know if we ever had time to explore it is like, for what you do, Katie, kind of seeing your work stream as you kind of put it, and then the typical work stream of what Mehmet does, or Jeroen, or Maaike, or any of them, in terms of where your kind of task-oriented kind of placement of things and kind of moving things along from a sales perspective would kind of merge or integrate with what they do, or at least how they see things. That's why I think would be an interesting kind of conversation, or at least an exploration to see where things would go.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other closing thoughts? Because we are at time, and I want to respect everyone, especially if they have other birthdays like Jeroen to go to find out more. So anyone have anything else?
So one thought, I would find it interesting to actually let a bigger group of solopreneurs vote on the ideas that had been
Yeah,
proposed,
me
because
too.
that would give a better directions. I mean, we're all like design sprint, we're all maybe not Katie, but we're all in one direction. We're a small group, so it would be interesting to
Agree.
have a wider perspective on that, to see what explore more.
So how about this? Why don't I, as part of like to-do list, I'll basically create an article that goes into the ideas as they're written in this mural, as they're kind of documented. And then at the end, there's some sort of poll that basically directs people to, like, either through the mailing list or through the article, so it can start gathering the information up to see what people think. And we can kind of gauge it from there, give it a week and see what people, and then revisit it later on.
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome idea.
Okay. And one last thing before I go, I'm going to take off the share, or stop the share altogether. And what I like to do is get a group shot of everyone like we normally do whenever we get done with one of these. The difference being is that, yes, Katie, they've got a good, there they are. What we tend to do is just try to find something in the environment that you can put up to the camera, something that corresponds to your desk, maybe an item, kind of like what Alex is doing. So if there's something interesting that you'd like to grab in the next 30 seconds to make a group shot, then let's go ahead and do that. Mugs. I don't have a mug. You have a book. All right.
I have my sprint book.
Yeah.
You are most professional. Yeah.
Oh.
I was using it, so that's why I had it in my hand. I was using it today.
All right. So we somehow we junctured like this. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
All right. And then you got this. You got the basket. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Very cool. Thank you all.
That's
I got
so
my action
awesome.
item to make this.
Thank you so much, Robert, for hosting this.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all for participating, and
Bye.
have a good day.
Thank
Have a rest of the week
you.
and all of that. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.